Alright, hi everybody. The last video I did, I covered Ottoman paintings of the siege of Sigethvar, and some responses to that video. People asked this about this thing that gets repeated in some wargaming books about Janissary dress, that the Janissaries had like a dress uniform and a kind of a campaigning uniform. And I don't have a good answer for that yet. I'm trying to look into that. But I did find this other costume, kind of not a costume book, but a album. This is titled "The Soronami I Vebi." This is from 1720. So a little much longer after Sigethvar, so we're in the early 18th century, and it was painted by a court artist, Abdul Jalili Levni. There's his, so he's kind of spanned the period from the sort of the kind of reversal of Ottoman fortunes in Europe in the 1680s, and he died at the end of what's referred to as the Tulip period in 1732, and indeed the reign of Sultan Ahmed III, especially the latter reign, is kind of regarded as a period where the Ottomans, they had suffered a lot of setbacks, but they kind of managed to regroup somewhat, and the empire was on a better footing than it had been. Maybe I'll just discuss a little bit. Before the siege of Vienna in 1683, the Ottomans were quite strong, actually. There was a dynasty of basically viziers, the Köprülü, that managed to kind of reorganize the state, and from about again, up until about the siege of Vienna in 1683, from about the 1650s, mid 17th century, the Ottoman state was fairly well organized, and that some of the issues from the early 17th century had been kind of resolved. And the Tulip period was kind of similar, although, like anything, a lot of things in Ottoman history, I think there should be more research on it, especially kind of just biographies of some of these sultans. But anyway, it's a issue for another video. And I guess the only other comment I'll make on that point is, this is like an issue of the decline of the Ottomans, or any big empire. It's not like that simple. There's periods where things can improve, things can, get worse. There's not always a clear kind of linear formula to it, because history's made up by people, and people have free will. Anyway, we have today a costume, a lot of examples of kind of costumes. So what the context of this is, and I don't have an explanation for all of the illustrations, unfortunately. I need to ask someone about that, but this is a depiction of the royal circumcision festival. So this is when the princes of the Sultan would get circumcised according to Muslim tradition around, I think, it's like 12 or 13 years old, and periodically the sultans would have a big kind of multi-day festival. And if you want to look at this kind of stuff, there's another example of this from the late 16th century. I think it's during the reign of Murad III, but it's again showing this big circumcision festival, but we do have some depictions of military clothing, and so I'm just going to be kind of looking through these. I don't have a lot of context, and there's no text in the paintings to kind of explain what's going on. So But we do have some, military dress. So here we have these guys could be from maybe the Arab provinces or further east. They clearly have some kind of fur coats, and we have musketeers depicted here in turbans and kind of in what what we might think of as a kind of campaign or traveling dress for an Ottoman soldier. Simple turban and this kind of short jacket and the loose kind of trousers with the sash. And as in the other books, the other miniatures we looked at, it was the same kind of many different colors, not a whole lot of uniformity. And that could be artistic license. That could be, or that could be how that there really wasn't a lot of uniformity. It's one thing about reading the Ottoman texts. They don't really go into detail about that. And I've also read articles about like cloth. They'll discuss like certain types of cloth, but we don't know what the color was, what the weight was necessarily that they would be making the clothing out of. So that's kind of not very clear. You probably have to do some kind of archaeology or looking at surviving artifacts to figure that out. But so these are clearly some armed men, guards of some kind. So this is some kind of game, and I wish I remembered what this is. Some kind of game. These are plates of rice, and I think like they're supposed to go run out and get them, and these are Janissaries. So we can see that the traditional kind of Janissary garb was still in use in the 18th century. And again, this is a kind of a festival, so we can expect that this is maybe their nicer kind of clothing. However, it does show that this was still being worn at the time, even if it was just in kind of a more formal role or not. I think I'll have to do more research and see if I can find another text like this with illustrations. But also some great ideas for some color, some different color choices for Janissaries. I kind of like the green, it's kind of light purple or like rose color with the blue that looks nice. And the green, dark green looks good. But yeah, we can see many different color palettes, although there is some consistency now that I'm looking at this. So it does look like, and this is my interpretation, so but it does look like we have a few different regiments, Janissary regiments, that are all gathered to go, like called up to go eat basically, because we've got red with this kind of orange trousers, and then we've got this kind of almost like an olive green with blue, and actually that looks fairly consistent, although like this guy's got olive green with yellow, but then we've got the dark green with red sashes. So this could be kind of an example of maybe regimental dress, although this is just me looking at the image now and thinking about it, because the Janissaries were when they were conscripted or they joined, as would have been the case in this period, you had a lot more freeborn Muslims that joined the regiments rather than the conscripts from the Balkans. They had pretty strong loyalties to their regiments, and they were also, by this period, would have been heavily involved in, basically running businesses, and, that sort of thing in the cities. So these form pretty strong kind of networks. So this could be an example of regimental dress, although I would just emphasize that this is just my off the cuff speculation looking at this image, because we do see some kind of pattern in some of the colors, or it could be that was the palette of the picture. But anyway, so yeah, the point is that this style of uniform was still being used in 1720. This is another depiction of some kind of soldiers. My guess again is that this is probably a governor, or it could be a member of the ulamas, like the religious establishment. He's presenting some kind of gifts. So we've got the he's presenting like a cup, and it looks like he's already given like a robe, and we've got this guy over here. Seems like he's carrying it off, and then these vases are also being carried off, along with horses. So I would think that these are his guards, or his kind of contracted soldiers that he has with him. We do have nice details on the muskets here. So maybe I can zoom in a little bit more on these guys. So we've got clearly what looks like by now flintlocks, which would have been which they had been using for quite a while at that point, actually. But also they are pretty well decorated based on the way it's depicted in the painting. The butt stocks are have some kind of ornamentation, and they're also quite long, which I did see a lot of examples. Well, not a lot, but when I did go to the Istanbul Military Museum collection, there were quite a few muskets that were like this, quite long barrel, and fairly heavy actually. So we have some kind of armed retainers for this guy here, and I think, if I'm remembering correctly, I think his hat means that he's some kind of imam or religious judge, or qadi. And these guys also have kind of longer coats. Yeah, somewhat similar to what the Janissaries wore, but not quite the same thing, it looks like. And maybe these could have been Janissaries, but I'm not sure. It doesn't really seem to fit, because we've got the guys we just looked at that were in the kind of like here. These are probably something different, but again, we're just going through the paintings and kind of looking. We also have, since these are clearly kind of gifts of horses. We've got a pony and two horses with very fine barding and very ornamented saddles with gold strapping. So interesting. We have more. So the ones in green, I think these are the Sultan's guard that would carry bows traditionally, and I think I've read that they did wear green. Then we have some pikemen or some spearmen here in very fine uniforms, purple with this kind of pattern embroidery. That's the word. And again, we do have some degree of patterns among these archers here, with the different green with yellow. We've got a green with an orange, and then this kind of red with green. So there are some patterns that we can see in the attire of these soldiers, which is interesting. That's the difficulty, is trying to figure out, how much of these paintings are, artistic license, and then, trying to find like written sources about, this kind of stuff, material stuff, which doesn't always exist. That goes for a lot of periods of history, just because, people kind of take it for granted. How much do we kind of think about, like what our clothes are made out of, every day in our own lives. It's kind of just, they're your clothes, you put them on, right? So it's not that different, although obviously in this context we've got very interesting, elaborate attire. Okay, and then this will be the last one, and then I'll this video's gone on some time, but we've got more kind of these palace guards of some sort, and they are all dressed in this orange, orange with yellow trousers. Their coats look embroidered. Yeah, we've got like fine embroidery, very nice gold belts and stuff, carrying these spears. It's a lot of this is part of some kind of procession, and we also have depictions of tents. Ottomans had very nice tents, and as did many Central Asian and Turkic cultures. And we can see some examples of how they were painted here. So not much else to add, because I don't, it's like I don't actually know what's happening here other than generalities. So I hope you at least found this kind of exploration interesting, and I wish I had more, definitive answers, but this is actually what doing historical research is like most of the time. You just have to kind of go in and see what you can find, and try to draw some conclusions out if you can. And, if you can't, well, that's okay too. So there's many more pictures in this album. It's on Internet Archive, which I was pleasantly surprised. So you can take a look at that on your own. And there's a lot more, like, kind of more fun pictures of the festival. There's a guy wrestling a bear, which is funny. I didn't include it here. I forgot, but if you want to check that out. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you got something out of this, and I'll answer any comments or questions, and hopefully I can make something else like this soon. Okay, thank you.